Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 9 of the Infinite Lorcana podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jeremy Bertrioni. With me is Zan Syed.
I'm Zan.
Excellent, and we are back from the set championships. Zan, how'd you do?
I absolutely crushed. I played in 6 of them. I top-8'd all 6. I lost in one of the first round of top 8. And then I won 5 stitches.
Amazing. I played in 6 as well. I won 1.5 stitches because I split a stitch with one of my friends in the Sunday tournament.
And that was me.
Right. And my Sunday tournament was a little harder than everyone else's. I had to play Zan twice, and we were playing the 60-card mirror deck.
Mm-hmm.
And
Twin Dragons.
Twin Dragons. It was phenomenal doing a twin dragon tournament with Zan, just like the old days. But I ran into him in the quarterfinals, the top 8 match, and I was unsuccessful in taking him down.
We actually got paired twice. He beat me in the Swiss. He beat me in the die roll both times, and I was super sad about it.
You're not supposed to keep track of die rolls, Zan. It's bad.
I don't believe in those superstitions. I just call it like it is.
Right, but in round 2, your die roll from round 1 doesn't matter, so you shouldn't keep track of it.
No, I was just thinking about me playing against my twin dragon and losing the die roll.
For a lot of these players, they're like sort of tournament endurance is something that keeps coming up on Twitter. Is like Lorcana players who are like, wow, at the end of a really long day, I feel so exhausted. And I want to be like, a part of it is because you're thinking of your record your whole time. You're thinking of who won the die roll. You're thinking, man, I won 4 die rolls, but I lost 3 die rolls. And it's just so much. It's so hard to live like that. So if you just train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose, it'll be so much easier for you to play these tournaments all day.
I agree that at the beginning of your tournament grinding career, that you need to build that endurance. For me, I don't give a shit about my endurance.
We have legendary endurance.
We have infinite endurance.
It's so funny. At the end of the day, people will be like, I'm so tired. And really, my response every time is like, really? Because I'm not at all.
Mine is more by action. I just go home and play more Lorcana. I go home. I'm like, okay, let's queue up.
Weirdly enough, during the weekend, like during the tournaments, is when I go home and play the Lorcana. During the week, I'm like, I don't want to play this game. But like after a tournament, I'm like, oh my god, that was so great. What if we played this deck? And I go change it.
Yeah, I think that, like ideas are fresh in your mind, and we just see like so many different decks top 8, and we're always like curious, like maybe we missed something and we need to revisit it. Talking about missing things, I feel like I've been missing the whole boat on Green Steel. What are your thoughts on that?
I've been playing Green Steel all day today. I've been playing a really sort of a weird list, the French list that won this like 283 person tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I've been winning nonstop, and I can't win with almost any other deck. I can win with 2 decks right now, and they're so embarrassing.
Tell me about this deck.
I can win with Green Steel, the French deck.
Yeah.
I'll just read you the list real quick.
Yeah.
It's got. I'll start with the. I'll just start where I'm going to start. It's got 2 A Whole New Worlds.
Okay.
Complemented by a discard suite of Bucky, Prince John, and a bunch of shift cards. But anyway, 2 A Whole New Worlds. It's got 2 Along Came Zeus, 4 Beasts, 2 Benjas, 2 Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, 4 Buckies, 3 Fire the Cannons, 4 Jafar, the silver one that costs 4, 4 Let the Storm Rage On, 2 Lucifers, 4 Prince Johns, 1 Rise of the Titans, 4 of each Robin Hood in Steel, 4 Strength of a Raging Fire, 4 Sudden Chill, 2 Tinkerbells, and 4 of each Ursula, the Deceiver and the Deceiver of All.
So this deck is like trying to make you discard?
It's a much slower deck. It's not trying to like rush you out with the like Curse Merfolk stuff.
Yeah.
You're trying to build a big board presence that is complemented by your shift characters, right? Robin Hood and Jafar really make it hard for them to quest into you.
Mm-hmm.
And then after you've built that board presence and hopefully have them discarding along the way with cards like Bucky, they're just going to be on. You're trying to play a low resource game more than you're trying to make them discard a card. A low resource game where you have the higher mid range threats.
I like that up until the point where you said 2 whole new worlds.
Sure. I mean, the whole new worlds don't like really make a ton of sense in the deck, but they've been good for me. Basically, you get to choose when you cast the whole new world, right? So if it's not like I only do it when I have like Bucky and a 5-mana guy, so I can cast it for free and then get back into discarding their hand and keeping that low resource game going.
I mean, I am a whole new world connoisseur, and I will say that it's not inkable. That's part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though it's something that you can control, even when I'm playing Amber Steel, sometimes I'm like, I can't control this card. I just have to play it. You know? And my biggest problem with Green Steel when I've been playing it has been the card advantage part. Right? If you can't get one of your card advantage things to stick around, I feel like you're toast.
I think the most important thing about a green steel deck is trying to play that low resource game. If your opponent's at like 7 or 8 ink, you're in a really tough spot. You want to sort of like get it to where they have 5 and then maybe have 1 or 2 guys, and you can pick those off with removal spells and then just build that board.
Yeah.
That board presence, that board domination.
I think that the card that I've been missing, which I've been playing in all these other builds. Mm-hmm. So like if you look in the Discord, there are a couple people who've been posting their list on there, and none of them have Bucky in them, and people are on this anti-Bucky movement.
I think Bucky's great. When I was playing red purple, Bucky, there's 2 cards that I like don't want to see over everything in all of Lorcana. Number 1 is Lucky Dime, because there's no way to get it off the field, and if you're just behind, then you know that they're going to just play big lore creatures and Lucky Dime you out of the game, and you can't do anything about it. So I don't like Lucky Dime, and I don't like Bucky because it comes down super early. It pretty much says like, hey, we're going to play this low resource game. You're going to have a really tough time hitting your high drops like Be Prepared or even your Madame Medusas and Lady Tremaines. You're going to have a really tough time with those cards. So Bucky and Lucky Dime, I think, are just the worst cards for red purple. Yeah. Which is why I don't want to move off Bucky in the list. I think it's like easily one of the best cards in my list.
Yeah. I can agree with that. I think that is the angle that I'm going to take moving forward. One thing I didn't hear from your version was Flynn Rider. I'm a huge proponent of the Shift Flynn Rider that costs 4 uninkable, and its lore is equal to the amount of cards in your hand. Something like that.
So the way that I think I would try to make that card work is I would try to cut like the maybe Lucifers and Tinkerbells, fire the cannons into a kaboom so that you don't mess up your inkable count too much. Ba-boom. So you don't mess up your inkable count too much, and then there's going to be room there for the big shift, the one that quests equal to the X minus the cards in their hand, or 4 minus cards in their hand.
Yeah, and I also think that for, like you said, you had 2 Along Came Zeus. I think that, like, I feel like it's a sin not to play 4, and so I would make those whole new worlds into Along Came Zeus. I want the Flynn Riders because you're only playing 1 drop, which is Robin Hood, and having access to another 1 drop is quite nice, which you can shift onto turn 2. We know how powerful that is from Amber Steel. And so I was thinking like we do a whole Flynn Rider theme going on as well, that you can shift onto it on turn 2. Even though it may not do a lot of damage, it can just sing all your songs.
That makes a lot of sense to me because... So I really like that this deck isn't playing like so many 1-drops, the version that I've been playing, because if you try to play Green Steel as an aggressive deck, you end up just being the worst aggressive deck. And it's like really easy for things like Red Purple to stabilize against you and all these other things that you don't want to happen. And Amber Steel eats you for breakfast if you try to play it the aggressive version. My version I've been playing has been really good against Amber Steel. But yeah, the Along Came Zeus's, I want more. Jafar is really good at casting Along Came Zeus, which has been good for me. I've liked 4-mana Jafar, actually, which I didn't think I would. I thought that card was horrible.
I think that card is terrible still.
It fits pretty well. You know, if you have a Bucky in play, it makes him discard pretty early.
We got Flynn Riders now.
Locks down the board.
Flynn Rider.
Doesn't lock down the board. That's like an evasive threat.
It's a 2/3 evasive threat that you can shift early, but also is the fastest win condition ever.
And so And so, yeah, we have, I guess, a ways to go on the green steel deck that we like can agree on. But what everyone can agree on is that it's a prominent player in the metagame. Local player Nathan Tripp. He actually he made the finals twice with
Nathan Tripp has been
Green Steel.
absolutely dominating with that shell. I don't remember his list. Do you remember his list?
I vaguely do. I mean, it's pretty much available to us all the time. It's more of an aggressive list. I think it's playing Curse Merfolk and Flynn Rider, the 2-mana one that
I didn't see him posted in the Discord. I scrolled up and I didn't.
No, he didn't. He doesn't. He keeps to himself with that kind of thing. He just doesn't understand why it's important to post yet because he's pretty new to card games.
Yeah, that is fair.
I'm going bowling with him next week.
Hell yeah, dude. Bowling is awesome.
So
I got bowling shoes.
One thing that I want to hit on, he said that I'm not allowed to bring my own ball or my own shoes.
Why?
Well, I asked him to try to like intimidate. It's supposed to be like a double date. So he's bringing his wife and I'm bringing my partner. And I was like, oh, are we allowed to bring our own balls or are we using house balls? And he was like, that's a crazy question. Now I'm scared to bowl with you. So the question worked 100%.
You want to borrow my shoes? You
No.
can save some money.
I don't think they charge you for renting shoes.
They do. It's actually one of the places where they make the most amount of money from the shoe rental.
Let's give our listeners like a snapshot of the metagame. That's how we like to start our podcast most of the time.
Snapshot.
So we just had set championships. One thing I'll say about the metagame is wonderfully diverse. I mean, we've been playing card games a long time. I think the 3-set Lorcana metagame is great.
I love it.
I think there's aggressive decks you can play. There's like sort of middle of the road decks you can play. And then there's go big control decks you can play.
Yep, you can play everything.
We watched Kendall Burdett's he got like an amazing amount of stitches. I think he got 5 stitches over the 2 weekends.
I think he got 6.
Oh my gosh.
He played in one.
He played in the one on Friday that I tried to get into but couldn't get into.
I could not play in that one.
And then he got 6 stitches and he played the same red purple list the whole time.
Oh yeah, exactly the same. I posted a video on it as the most consistent deck. I will say my experience was with it after 50 matches was not the greatest, but I get why it's been so consistent. I really do think that Be Prepared is one of those cards that can catch you up in any situation.
Right.
He's an amazing pilot, so I get it. The way the deck is tuned, it feels like it's tuned against Amber Steel because it's playing Teeth.
Yep.
And it's playing Minnie Mouse, the 1/3 or Olaf, whichever one you want to play.
There are a lot of aggressive decks right now. You know, anything with the Curse Merfolk, you're going to want the Teeth and Ambitions. And then if they stabilize high, Teeth and Ambitions is one of the only cards that can keep you from just like dying to whatever 1-drop they play when they have 18 lore or whatever.
My biggest problem with it was it just wasn't closing games for me.
Sure.
Everything is so low lore that let's say you draw your goats early, I feel like you're in a bad position to close the game against the mirror match, against Yellow Steel. I did not have the greatest time, and I really tried to put in the time and effort to make sure I was playing it correctly.
Sure.
Even asked Kendall about my mulligans and stuff, and thank you to him to like go in depth in some of it, and I don't think that's a deck I'm gonna be playing in the Atlanta Challenge. I think I've just crossed it off. Like I keep revisiting it and being like, am I doing something wrong here?
Because that's the big question, right? Is like what's gonna hit for the Atlanta Challenge?
Yeah, it completely sank my hardcore ranking. I went from number 1 to off the chart.
I noticed that you're not on the chart anymore, and I thought that like something happened with your account because you were so far ahead of everybody else for a while.
Oh yeah. Well, what I realized after the Stitch challenge is that I can't like just sit at number 1.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to do well at the challenge, I just have to go through the gauntlet. And so where's the first place I start? Kendall, red, purple.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, okay, can I tune this deck in my own way to make it better? I feel like I did. I posted a list/video today about a location version.
Mm-hmm.
And like, this is something I've been revisiting a lot, but I feel like the meta is really nice for it Because if you can get a location down early, the steel decks have a tough time dealing with it.
Mhm.
And so I feel like the video that I posted, though, didn't do a great job at showing the plus side of the locations. But I think that if I had played against a steel opponent, it would have shown.
One thing I want to point out about Kindle's game, and then also about the game of Lorcana in general, is we're playing against a lot of new players.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of the time matches go to time in Lorcana. And one thing that Kindle has down that I want to spend a little bit of time talking about, maybe get your opinion on it, is the mechanics. The way he positions his deck, he draws a card. It takes like maybe 0.2 seconds. It's like so fast. It's crazy. And the way that I see you and I just sort of like tapping, untapping against some new players that maybe have it all in one big pile and all these things, I see players lose so much time. So I wanted to talk about mechanics. We played in the mirror in the Swiss, and we had basically there was a time constraint because it was pretty clear that we were going to play 3 whole games, right? No non-games between the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, hey, you need to pick it up. And in my head, I was like, I can't really pick it up on, decision making because I'm trying to just do that as fast as I can. But one thing I can really clean up right now is my mechanics. And I like sat up straight. I started untapping as soon as I said go. Just other little things to break down mechanics. You have any thoughts on that? I know it's just sort of just came out of the blue that I brought it up, but you have anything to add?
Yeah,
to
we've talked about it a bit before, but basically, yeah. I mean, the main thing I'm doing is I'm untapping my inkwell during my opponent's turn, and also my items.
Yeah.
I'm untapping those, and the reason why I'm doing that is because it ends up saving like 5, sometimes even 10 minutes, depending on your dexterity. And the other thing that I've noticed is when I do that, you can see in other players' head, wait, why are you doing that? Either they ask me that or they do it themselves. And once that happens, then it ends up making sure all of the matches finish. So I would say I don't think I went to time 0 times in all 6 of these.
I think that I also avoided going to time.
Yeah, 0 moments where we went to time. I did see Kendall go to time, but I think that was mainly because his deck doesn't have closing power.
Nope, you don't close. You have to like get like a big mass of like rabbits and goats and Cuscos and turn like 5 cards out. It's always funny to watch him like be at the end of his game. He'll have like 6 guys in play, all with varying amounts of damage on them. And one of them's a Maui, and he'll like turn them all sideways, and he'll be like, "All right, now I'm at 4," and I'm like, "Oh my god, like that's so far away."
Yeah, I am not. Yeah, for the challenge, red purple, it's gone. Let's go back to the snapshot though.
Snapshot of the metagame for sure.
Yeah.
So we have red purple is a big player.
Yeah, I would say red purple is once again, it's like 3rd or 4th, I think, in terms of like at these tournaments when I'm seeing. I think that honestly the biggest jump for a deck was probably 5th to 1st or 2nd is green steel.
Yeah. Green steel really came out ahead with these challenges, and sort of like the deck was so good that just anybody was winning with it.
Yeah, and I think that purple green was looking like the favored green deck, but is now probably in 5th place, I think.
One thing I noticed in the metagame was if you're looking, because I played all kinds of decks during the challenges, right? If you're looking for consistency, which is going to be really important in a best of 2 metagame, you want to consistently win those games. The steel package, the steel removal package, is like kind of the only thing that gives you that consistency, right? Because like if you're playing blue-red, for example, you could just get blown out by any old random good draws. But when you have those steel early removal, it's really hard to like get blown out by like an aggressive deck. And then once you stymie their early aggression, you get to play a real game. So you have much fewer non-games with the steel removal package. I think that's what's really carrying it to the levels it's at right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the steel decks are that much more dominant than everything else, but I do like the fact that, like, if you play a Cinderella on turn one, your opponent who's playing an aggro deck just completely crumbles.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're like, I have to make this super tough decision whether I should play a one drop or let it get eaten by, let the Storm Rage on. And sometimes you play a queen and they don't even see it coming. You just remove, whole new world. And they're just like, I guess I lose. There's some percentage of the games which are just completely non-games that you're just completely dominant. They could never do anything. There isn't a deck like that. And I think Amber Steel is going to remain my number one. I think testing wise, Green Steel is on the chopping block right now. Like, I need to figure it out. I do think that Red Purple, I'm done with it.
Sure.
I think Green Purple has fallen to 5th. I think Blue Red honestly has gotten pushed out.
What? But Chris Anderson was so excited about it last week on the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it's either second or third in popularity, but I think that it's a terrible challenge deck. How could we go to this challenge and be willing to lose to aggro?
I'm not going to do it because some people are going to come to this challenge that are just like excited to play, and they're going to have an aggro deck.
I'm telling you right now, if you think that your enemy is Amber Steel is the most expensive deck.
Mm-hmm.
People are not going to, like, you think 2,000 people, the most played deck is going to be Amber Steel?
I'm always surprised when I go to card game, big tournaments, big conventions, at like how many people are just playing the most expensive deck. So I don't know what to tell you, Zan. I mean, you know. Maybe.
I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, that's just not going to be the case.
Is there a deck that plays Mickey Mouse? I think because some people are just going to want to play House of Mouse.
No,
just Blurple.
Blurple's not real.
Oh, dang it. That's the other deck I've been winning with.
Blurple is a really fun deck. I do think it's cool, and I will probably post a video about it.
Okay.
But I don't think it's real.
I'll send you my list.
Cool.
It gets to play the big purple dragon.
Yeah. So let's complete this
Snapshot.
So number 1 is probably Green Steel.
Yeah.
Number 2,
Amber Steel.
Yeah, Amber Steel.
And then number 3, you had Red Purple.
Yep.
And then
number 4, I'll give it to Blue Red.
Okay. And then number 5 is where you're going to put Green Purple.
Yep. And number 6 is where I'm going to put Blue Steel.
Blue Steel made your list? I think Blue Steel is horrible. I mean, that's the one that you can't get me to play.
Yeah. Well, what I'm basically saying is like there's top 5, and then Blue Steel is 6.
Sure. Okay.
Right. Because I think that there's enough people playing Blue Steel. I even want to stitch with Blue Steel. I don't even know how. That deck was awful.
That's crazy that you won the Stitch, which is some people's like.
I mean, by the 3rd round, I was pulling my hair out. I was like, I cannot believe I persuaded myself to play this deck.
Wow, what do you mean you were winning? Did you ever have Cogsworth?
Yeah, Cogsworth won me plenty of games.
How did it feel having a Cogsworth in play?
Awful.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to put that thing in play.
Again, I think that the philosophy should be that your deck needs to be able to close the game when it turns the corner. And I like having like an aggro draw. I like having a mid-range draw, a control draw. I feel like Amber Steel just plays all of the roles so well. I can't imagine not playing it. I think the only one that has potential for me is some version of Green Steel, which I know for a fact has yet to be discovered. But people are winning with some horrendous looking.
People win with whatever Green Steel list.
Yeah. So,
I'm telling you, I've really liked Bucky. I think Bucky's the truth.
Yeah, I totally believe you. I think that's an angle I need to test out because I mean, like, I love Flynn Rider. I believe that Flynn Rider belongs in the shell. Because I do think that if you have a 1 cost that shifts 2 and becomes like a 4 or a 5, lets you cast a Long Game Zeus or any of the 3 mana songs, that shit is not okay. It's good. It's too good, maybe.
Green Steel, so funny because that was the deck that was popular when the set first came out, but it was a different version.
Yeah, there's too many cards in it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's too many versions. And also you have to think about it. It's a discard deck, right?
Sure.
So that means what is it doing? It's trying to answer a specific metagame. So for it to be the best deck from the get-go, I don't think makes much sense.
No, it's definitely something that the metagame has to evolve
Right.
into.
And when the set first came out, Amber Steel was not even in the top 5 decks. Amber Steel was not seeing any play.
When the deck first came out, is that because you won the...
At the 8K, there were like a total of 5 players.
Wow. And then that's when you popularized. I thought for whatever reason that it had already been popularized by you, but you're totally right.
Yeah, so when the set first came out, nobody was playing Amber Steel. I went to the first tournament at CM Games, and I was the only person playing Amber Steel.
Sure.
And I top 4'd that event. And so, yeah, I mean, so until the metagame has shaped up, it makes sense that Green Steel has made a resurgence and it's trying to find its identity in the best version of it. And I think that the challenge may unveil.
Are there any dark horse picks? So there's the slow Fossa deck that's been getting a little bit more popular. I think that the 0/1 drop version is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I have never...
Pluto.
You would put Pluto in that deck?
Are you talking about Pluto? 0/1?
0/1 is in there. Are no 1 drops in the...
Oh, 0/1 drops. Oh, yeah. You're talking about it is a evasive.
Yeah.
Yeah, all evasives like mini the dog.
Pongo,
yeah.
It has all the evasives, but it's like it's sort of more of a mid-range deck. One guy we saw top 8 2 of the
yes, I played
2 of the set champion. Yeah, you played against him in Wasteland Games.
Yes.
And then I think he made it to the finals or at least the semifinals of Atomic.
Yes, I played top him in top 4.
Okay. So he made it to the semifinals.
Yes. And I won. Let me talk about the deck.
About Slow Fossa?
Slow Fossa, yeah.
Go crazy.
Okay. He told me what the problem was.
Right. Why isn't it on our list?
Because it can't beat cards like Ursula.
Oh, man, that's true. If you play Ursula the Deceiver of All, then you just get to sing whatever song you want.
Exactly. And so that's going to if green is getting more popular, if we're saying green is 1 in 5, Slow Fossa is not real.
Wow. I hadn't considered that. That makes sense, though. I've noticed that Ursula might be what's the backbone of this whole resurgence in green steel, right? Because you get to, I think one of the best cards that you can sing with Ursula is Let the Storm Rage On.
I think the resurgence is not Ursula. From day one, everybody was trying to make Ursula work.
Mm-hmm.
I think that when there were steel decks before, they were all playing 4 grab your swords.
Right.
That was the norm. And so if every steel deck you run into is playing 4 grab your swords, then the King Johns and the Buckies were not living.
Right.
And so I think early on, like, that was kind of the case. They couldn't justify playing it because all the other green steel decks were playing it, and it just was like a feel bad, I think. And Ursula just always got dealt with, right? Medusa dealt with it, and it just, even if it sings a song, it didn't do well. I think the real resurgence of it is Sudden Chill and King John. Prince John.
Yeah.
Right? Once people started playing that combo, then it became more real. Because the prior versions weren't playing Sudden Chill.
Sudden Chill has been great.
Exactly. They weren't playing Sudden Chill. And they were missing that package that allowed them to draw cards in the mid game. Mm-hmm. The whole reason why that list has Whole New World is the same feeling I keep getting. It's like, okay, like my deck's not doing anything.
I'm running out of gas and my deck's not doing anything.
Yeah. And there's a point in the game where discarding cards from their hand doesn't do anything. And that becomes weird.
And so I wanted to pivot the conversation onto something pretty fun. I think the most popular topic of conversation this weekend amongst the people in the set championships was the set challenge and the prizes. And so, Zan, do you have any idea how much a golden serialized Mickey's going to be worth?
I heard today.
Today.
Phenomenal. 45,000.
I decided I was going to try to trade mine for a 2024 Subaru Crosstrek Wilderness.
I mean, I completely support you on that. I mean, that's your dream car. And you've been saying that you want a Subaru forever. And I hope you get one.
I had one, but it was 28 years old and the head gasket blew. And it was just $1,000 repair at a time where I didn't have $1,000.
And yeah, I mean, life is full of those type of things, but now you're like chasing something.
Yeah.
And I think that that it has revitalized something, like it has like reassured you that this is the car that I want.
45 without revealing your sources. People are going to say that seems high.
People are going to say, I think that those are the doubters. The thing is, I've been wrong every single time.
Sure.
But I've been wrong in a certain way every single time.
Right. Just explain.
I've been lowballing it every time.
Every time you're lowballing.
I was like, day one, stitches, 300.
Right.
Before you left the store, you sold yours for 1,000.
Right. And that was great.
Yeah. So basically what I'm saying is if I say 45,000, I'm wrong.
Yeah, because you're lowballing it.
Exactly.
I've been thinking that too, because the number that people were kicking around probably the most this past weekend was 20.
Yeah.
Which is why I was like, I'm going to try to trade it for a $35,000 car. You know what I mean? And then probably still be wrong. We have a little bit of precedent. There was a one-piece tournament that was like on Nationals that rewarded a card that I don't think was serialized. Mm-hmm. And it sold for 50,000. Mm-hmm.
I think the Mickey's worth more.
Right.
I'll tell you. Okay, so we run a Discord, Club Lorcana.
Yeah.
If you don't already know, join it. It'll make you better in every facet of Lorcana. The thing that I've been noticing, the way that people are establishing the value is by how actually rare it is. So Stitch is an enchanted that's more rare than every other enchanted. So it has a heightened value, and it's a beloved character. Mickey is the character. It's got gold on it. It's serialized. You can only get it by top 4ing one of these challenges. What do you mean? It's gonna be the most rare. If that's how people are assigning value, there will be someone who is going to pay 50,000.
That's, I mean, my thoughts too. Like the one, One Piece is a Bandai game. It doesn't have basically a guarantee that it'll last for a while. Ravensburger as a distributor producer, or they don't distribute, but as a publisher, they have Disney Villainous, which has been around, for 10 plus years. So I might be wrong on that, but it's a high number of years. Disney Villainous has been around for a long time.
I love their boxing.
Everyone loves their boxes. I don't think anyone's played the game, but the boxes are phenomenal.
Whenever I see the box, I'm like, I should maybe get this game.
That's ridiculous. But so much more than, a Bandai game that could be gone in a year. The Ravensburger things are worth all that. So I think if a picture of Luffy could be worth that much, then Mickey Mouse has got to be dwarfing it.
Yeah, I mean, if we talk about IPs, Disney's it.
It's Disney, then Pokemon.
Yep.
And Pokemon already has a game. It's been going on forever.
Forever, yeah.
I mean, almost as long as Magic. So that was, I thought, a fun little tangent. That was probably my favorite topic to sort of argue back and forth with strangers with. Just sort of low stakes. If somebody's planning to play in the challenge, what do you think the best things they can do to prepare are?
What are the best things that they can do to prepare? I mean, playing Pixelborn is number one.
Okay.
I think Pixelborn, especially hardcore, even though it's going to be best of 2 format, and hardcore is best of 3. The thing that it's going to do is like it's going to over prepare you for the amount of time that you have to invest in a match. Number 2 is it's going to prepare you better in terms of like not knowing what you're playing against when you sit down across from your opponent. And it's also going to teach you that you have to keep playing even if you lose game 1, right? Because you have game 2, which is still important to play for. And so when you lose in best of 1, then you're like, oh, it's over. But there's a more journey there. And then I think lastly, it's going to give you the endurance.
It's also just very freeing to have all the cards, something that we didn't have with Magic Online, something we didn't necessarily have with Arena, or I'm trying to think of any other card game client that we played, Legends of Runeterra even. You don't start with all the cards. In Pixelborn, it's so free to try a different build. Oh, I like green silver, but or green steel, but I'm having trouble with these. I'm going to try a deck that beats it. It's green steel, but it's a different build. It's so free, whereas a lot of the time for a lot of people on Magic Online or something, you would get locked in.
Yeah. I think the other thing is the sample size.
Okay.
I think that's super important. Like, for example, you say 2 whole new worlds in this discard theme deck.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no way. Because I'm thinking about it. If you play it 1,000 times,
yeah,
I promise you,
you're
going to see exactly what I see.
It's going to be bad more often than not.
Exactly.
But I had a game today where it was good. Consider.
And that is the difference between someone who has put in the reps, right? Like we talked about it before. It's like this web that you're creating in your mind about how things interact with each other. And that the only way that web becomes stronger is by having more experience points. And how do you get more experience points? Is when you create more of those interactions by playing more matches than someone else.
Right.
And so since this game is so similar to Magic, a lot of that stuff transfers over. Like, for example, they like printed a card in set 4. They just like spoiled it. And it's a card from Magic. It was called Glintnest Crane in Magic. And in this game, I don't remember what it's called. But
it's Sebastian the Seagull from Little Mermaids.
Yeah, exactly. And so I have a lot of context about how that card interacted in Magic. And so like I'm using some of my data from there in this game. It's not going to exactly 100% translate because it's a different game, but it's a similar thing. So when someone's like, "Hey, I'm playing this card," that's exactly what I'm doing. I like literally have a brain blast like Jimmy Neutron, and I'm like, "Okay, how does it play out in this scenario? How does it play in that scenario?" And so even today, I was thinking about Star Wars, and I thought about this one card, and I was like, oh, let me just play it out in my mind a couple of times. And then Jeremy came over, and right before the podcast we played one, and it did everything I wanted it to do and more. But I had played out that whole scenario in my mind because I have the experience.
Yeah, I feel like you broke Star Wars. You hit me for 16 in one turn, and I only had 25 life. At the time, I only had 18 life.
Yeah, sometimes your mind allows you to do that.
That was a lot of fun. I'm playing in a Star Wars tournament this weekend, by the way. It's a win a case of the next set.
Yeah, he's gonna be playing my deck, mono green Palpatine. He's gonna win the thing because we broke it.
That all rhymed just about. I mean, that was crazy.
Hell yeah!
But no, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun. Get out there, interact with the greater Star Wars community. It'll be a lot of fun. Excited about all the stuff happening with us and with card games for sure. I saw you doing a little bit of, I wanted to talk about a story from this past weekend.
Yeah, go for it.
And then it's that I saw you doing a little bit of free coaching on Sunday morning.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was great.
So we have a player in our local area that goes to our Friday night store. It's an older woman. I think I'll just leave her name out of this, but it's an older woman. She's great. She's so nice, phenomenal to everybody. And she was there at a set championship, and she was like, I've won like 2 of the past 18 matches I've played. I feel so bad about that. We were all like, oh, don't worry, it'll pick up. And then so you were like, okay, here's what we're going to do. You play against Jeremy right now, and I'll sit next to you, and I'll just talk to you about everything that you're doing that I wouldn't do. And she was so touched, she started crying, and Zan was really embarrassed.
Yeah, I mean, I've never had that reaction before. Completely cool, but I just never expected that in a like card game scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that caught me off guard. But yeah, she was super sweet. What I like to do is like let the player make a decision and then let them tell me the decision, why they made that decision, and then if it doesn't align with mine, I will then explain them what I would do and why I would do it and why I think that their decision may be less optimal.
Sure.
And yeah, the thing I can't forget about it is she lost her first round and she came up to me and she said like kind of the best thing you could possibly say. She said, what do you call it? I lost, but I lost better.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn. And like that made me feel good because I don't really care about losing. Because sometimes when you lose, there's nothing you could have done.
Sure.
But when you lose and it was your fault, you take accountability and you learn from it. That's like the beauty of card games, and in Lorcana, you can do that more than any other card game before this.
And what Zan's saying there when he says, go back over your moves and talk about them, one thing that we said earlier for how to get ready for the challenge was that play Pixelborn. But I think if you remember what Chris Anderson said in the podcast we recorded with him, what he said the most important thing to do was you got to watch your replays. So if you can record some of your matches on Pixelborn and watch those, especially ones that you lost that were close, I mean, that's probably the way to level up the best, the fastest. I don't know. That's what I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't like to watch myself just because I've always been like that. But I do think that it is a great practice. It's even better if you have a buddy who can watch your match and you watch theirs and you guys give critique on it.
In stand-up comedy, too, I think it's so important. You record your sets and you watch them, even if you bombed, sometimes especially if you bombed, and it hurts. I mean, it's bombing in stand-up comedy is one of the worst feelings you can ever have.
Yeah.
One time I performed in Chattanooga, and I think I bombed the hardest I ever have. So one of my punchlines that always kills, like the audience always laughs when I said it. I said it, and it was crickets, and it felt like I really seriously felt like I had been punched in the stomach. And I was in front of people on a big stage. I was like, oh, oh no. It was so bad.
Sorry, bro. Sorry.
But I watched the replay and I saw it and I was like, yep, I don't know.
For me, I'm always just thinking, like, especially when I'm in a tournament, I'm just like constantly thinking about, okay, what could I have done? So it sticks with me for a long time. And so just as of late, it's just been less and less. Just because I feel like I've been playing Amber Steel and I feel like I have all the decisions down to a crisp. It's been getting more and more rare that like this set's also been out for quite some time.
Oh yeah, I mean this is a really well played set of cards. These 3 sets, I kind of really like that about it. I love when things have time to settle and then we get to iterate on popular decks. But we are definitely at the like late stage of a metagame.
Yeah, and we're like I'm saying, I'm down to one deck that I need to figure out, like
Green Steel.
Yeah,
And
if
of
it's
different
real.
builds available.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna try all the builds and I'm gonna find it, and if it exists, and if it doesn't exist, then I know what I'm supposed to play.
You could play Fang. I mean, people have been playing Fang in Green Steel.
Yeah, don't ever play that card. It has 6 health, which
Wrong.
dies to
Maui or Madam Mim the Fox a lot of the time.
God, this is so bad. Don't do it.
Yeah, okay. I can get sold on not playing Fang. I don't want to play Fang.
Yeah, no one wants to play Fang.
So that was my story from the set championship. Did anything interesting or cool happen, that you remember from the set championships?
Yeah, it's about you.
Okay, that's fine.
So, I will say it was tough watching you have such a tough tournament over and over again. And for the last tournament, I just had to look at you and be like, dude, we got to do Twin Dragons.
That's what I needed too. Yeah,
Yeah.
Twin Dragons. Yeah, I mean, I was playing like fine, maybe like pretty well some matches, and then some matches like not great, but still like good or whatever. And just cards weren't coming together for me. I was just losing to every little thing. I feel like I always had basically the wrong deck at the wrong time a lot of the times these past 2 weeks. But I mean, it's all good. I had a blast. It was tough not winning, but it was like fine.
I stood behind you for a lot of those losses, and I would say 95% of the decisions you were making were correct. It's just your games were just hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's like every game. And sometimes you came in and you were like, you were supposed to like play the Mao even though it couldn't attack with anything. It's like, okay, why do I have to do all that? And I feel
and
like
it was definitely I would like be like, I thought about it. And I was like, that was the hardest decision in the room. I knew the answer, but I don't think anybody else did.
Sure. So but like I want to say that I really enjoyed set championships. I mean, I didn't win as much as I wanted to. That's not
Bro, you made
great.
$1,000 day one.
Exactly. $1,000 day one. So everything else is just fun, free. I want to say I was a believer in they should pay me cash and not cards until I got one card, realized that it took all the pressure off the tournament organizer, aka local game store that I love. They don't have to put up prize money anymore. They just get to hand out the promo cards. And I was like sold. They can be worth so much more now because a local game store can't pay you $2,000.
Well, I will say that it all has to do with the IP. Mm-hmm. If your IP is worth that much, then yeah, you can print a card that has that value and get it off this, like get it off the store owner's back. Mm-hmm. You can't do that with any old card game and just be like, yeah, this new card game, we're gonna do these like special art cards, and people be like paying $1,000 for that.
Right.
The IP's got to have pre-existing value, and Disney has that.
Disney has the pre-existing value, of course. We talked about that twice. So that was just your story, is that we twin dragoned at the end, and I finally made top 8?
Yeah, and I really do think that should be the strat moving forward.
We twin dragon.
Yeah, unless we really don't know the answer of which deck is better, and the point of us playing 2 different decks is that we're trying to get to the answer.
Well, I'm down to twin dragon. It's close right now between green steel and blurple for the challenge, but we'll just see what happens.
All right, I would strongly advise that Blurple is out.
You get to play the purple dragon.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap it up. You got anything else that you want to talk about?
No, definitely not. I think next week tune in because that'll be time to talk about spoilers. Obviously, spoilers are something that we want to get into now, but we have a couple of like leaks out, and I don't really want to talk about leaks, and we also have a couple like incomplete cycles out right now, but we're really excited about the discard shift cards. We're really excited about Sing Together. I think we're going to cover a lot of that in the next episode. So get hype for that, guys, but it's not time just yet.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And so that's a wrap on episode 9. Thank you for watching. And Jeremy, do you have any plugs that you wanted to plug in?
Not right now. I mean, follow me on X at MoxJeremy, MoxJeremy. That's where I'm going to post all of my Lorcana takes. I recently posted a scalding hot take about a Magic the Gathering secret layer. So, get into my comments and fight me. Do it.
Yep. It's all of our socials will be in the description, and we'll put Jeremy's green steel list in the description as well.
All right, great. I'll send it to Zan.
All right. See you guys next time. Bye.
See ya.